Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Sunny Side of the Dome. I'm your host, Karen Soutar, and I'll be talking some Blue Jays baseball with you for the next half an hour or so. Sunny Side of the Dome is brought to you by Jays from the Couch. We stream live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Quick programming note, I actually will not be on next week because my husband and I are going to Baltimore to see our Blue Jays play there in Baltimore and hopefully do to the Orioles what they did to us in Toronto a couple of weeks back. But yes, normally Thursdays at 6 p.m. And you can catch us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We stream live. And if you are following along live and you think of a question or comment, please do send it all in. I love that interaction with the audience. I think it makes the show that much better. And if you're not catching the live version but still want to see what I have to say this week, then great. When you're ready for us, we're ready for you. You can catch the archive version on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or you can download and listen as a radio podcast. Any quality podcast carrier has all of the Jays from the Couch shows. And speaking of the other shows, if you like our content, there's lots more available for you. So happy to announce that as of this Monday, the main Jays from the Couch radio podcast will be resuming. You may have noticed that we took a few weeks off. So we're coming on back this coming Monday. For the time being, the show time is going to be a little different. It's 7 p.m. Eastern time instead of 6. So be sure to check that out. We've missed talking to you guys, so hope there'll be lots tuning in on Monday. And don't forget about the other show, the On-Fec Circle on Tuesdays, 6 p.m., starring my very unforgettable Jays from the Couch colleague, Steve Feck. So what can you say about Steve that hasn't already been said? Unique, smart, funny, interesting. He comes up with these ideas. Sometimes he makes me think. Sometimes he makes me want to tear my hair out, but he's never boring. So check out that show if you haven't already been doing so. So, happy Thursday evening, Blue Jays fans. How's everybody doing? Hope everything is going well for everybody. As Blue Jays fans, I imagine for the most part, people are pretty happy nowadays. The team, after that funk they were in a little while back, they've really turned it around. They're doing much, much better. Lots of great stuff to talk about. Well, mostly great. the good, the bad, and the ugly. So without further ado, leading off, as always, transactions from the last week, or actually 8 days as it was since last week. I was on Wednesday instead of Thursday. So first, for a really happy story, which if you're fans of the Toronto Blue Jays, you probably already know all about this. Still, it is very much worth mentioning. So Chris Bassitt, starting pitcher, was scheduled, he had his scheduled start this past Friday when the Blue Jays went to New York to play against the New York Mets. Now, Chris, if you know a bit about his history, prior to signing with the Toronto Blue Jays as a free agent this past off season, he played for a couple of other teams. He spent most of his career with the Oakland A's until he was traded 2 off seasons ago from Oakland to the New York Mets. So he was actually with the Mets in 2022. So it was a homecoming of sorts for Chris. Meanwhile, in Chris's personal life, he and his wife, Jessica, were expecting their second child. And by expecting, I mean any minute. That she had actually already gone into labor by the time the game started on Friday. Well, I bleed Blue Jay blue. On the other hand, I do believe in family first. I don't for major life events such as the birth of a child. I certainly never want a player to miss out on witnessing the birth of his own baby. So what what to do. Well, apparently they worked it out, and Bassett, I assume, hopefully with the blessing of his wife Jessica, that he did make that start. And then the plan was the moment he was taken out of the game, there was a car waiting for him. There was an airplane on standby to take him back to Toronto to be with his wife, to get there in time for the birth of their baby. And everything worked great. When I heard about this, I thought, okay, great that he is committed to the team and all of that. I couldn't help but wonder, with all of this going on in his personal life, how would his focus be? Would it be completely on the game, or would part of his mind be elsewhere? Well, I didn't need to worry. Bassett he's been doing very well lately, and last Friday was no exception. He pitched 7.2 innings versus the Mets, did not surrender any runs, only gave up 3 hits, no walks, 8 strikeouts, and the Blue Jays completed the win once he was gone. And then he went straight to the airport, got back, did not miss the birth of his son. And in fact, it didn't happen until about a day later. And yes, their son Colson has been born. Apparently, mother and son are doing great. And how is that a transaction, you might ask? Well, he was put on the paternity list. So that was Saturday, and the paternity list is a maximum of 3 days. So he did take the 3 days, and then he was brought back to active status. Pitched again yesterday, pitched another gem, and the Blue Jays, as they have been lately, just keep on rolling. So yay, congratulations to Chris and his family, and thank you very much for your great pitching. Keep it up. So while he was away, they were able to add another pitcher to the roster, which they did. They brought up Jay Jackson, and unfortunately, when Bassett came back, somebody had to go the other way, and that was Jay Jackson. So he was back with the Jays for the 3 days. I have to say, I kind of like what I'm seeing from Jay Jackson. He might not necessarily be high on the Blue Jays depth charts. Maybe he's opening some eyes. At least I kind of hope he is. So far with the Blue Jays this season, because that was his second stint with the Major League club, going back and forth between the Jays and AAA. So he's gotten into 4 games. He has a very fine 1.59 earned run average. He's actually only given up the 1 run so far in Major League Baseball. That was a home run to Aaron Judge. Well, it's Aaron Judge. And even after the fact, Jackson commented that he thought he was tipping pitches. Okay, I mean, tipping pitches, it's not a great thing, obviously, if you're a pitcher, but if it's something that you realize, presumably that's something that you can correct. It's a fixable thing. It's not like, well, he just isn't a good pitcher. So there's that. He has a very fine 0.88 whip. He's only given up 2 walks. He's struck out 6 in 4 innings. Like they're just the numbers across the board are actually pretty good. So, he pitched on June the 5th. Unfortunately, the starting pitcher, Alek Manoah, who I will get to shortly, he had a quick exit from the game, and they needed someone, and Jay Jackson came in and pitched 2.2 innings and didn't give up any runs. And that was against a Houston Astros team that had their hitting shoes on that day, because they scored a total of 11 runs against the other pitchers. So I think maybe there's something worth looking at. And I wonder if there's a need for another relief pitcher, if he's someone they might consider again, and maybe even keep him around. We'll see. Excuse me a moment. Okay, so that's that. Other transactions. So Santiago Espinal, you may recall that he's been on the injured list. So guess he didn't need all that much of a rehab stint, which is great. He's now back with the club, and Ernie Clement has been optioned back to AAA. So I really like Espinal. I have throughout his whole major league career to date. I think he's someone who does a lot of things really well. I was so happy for him last year when he made the All Star team. I'm not sure, respectfully, how many more All Star teams Santiago Espinal will make. That might have been his ceiling there. We'll see. But yeah, I think it's great having him back. His defense is good. He has some positional versatility. um, and his hitting, I mean, his overall hitting numbers on the season aren't very good. His OPS is only 519. In his last 7 games, it's actually a good bit better. In his last 7 games, it's 684. So like a 160 points higher in his last 7 games. So he's trending in the right direction. Great to have him back. He's already gotten into a couple of games. He played third base when Matt Chapman couldn't go the other day. So I think it's really great. And thank you, Ernie Clement. Not to say that he won't ever be back, but in 4 games, he did everything that was asked of him. He had 6 plate appearances. He wasn't an automatic out or anything. He had a decent OPS of 733, obviously very small sample size, but much better to see that than than it's like, okay, here's your number 9 hitter, and he's pretty much an automatic out. So thanks again, and maybe we'll see you again sometime. The big news, and it's probably not a shock to anybody really following this team. Alek Manoah has really struggled all season, and the Blue Jays that let him stay in Major League Baseball for a number of different reasons. I mean, his previous 2 seasons, he had lots of success. He was good as a rookie in 2021. In 2022, he was fantastic. He was an All-Star. He was a finalist for the American League Cy Young, and I don't pretend to know what the heck is going on with Alek Manoah this season, but it's really nothing good. So he had a 636 earned run average in 13 games. He has almost as many walks per innings as he does strikeouts. 6.5 walks per innings. That yuck. That's just way too high. I'm sorry. And only 7.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. His command just wasn't there. And when he was throwing strikes, he was getting hit way too much. His whip was 1.897. Just he had lots of chances to work things out in the major leagues, and it just wasn't getting any better. And if anything, he probably hit rock bottom during his last start. On this past Monday, he was only able to get 1 out before he surrendered 6 runs. And John Schneider had no choice but to take him out of the game at that point. And so he has since been optioned. I wasn't shocked to see him optioned. I thought he'd be going down to AAA. He has been optioned to the Florida Complex League. And folks, that's all the way down the ladder. So that's not even as high as A ball. That's basically rookie ball, where typically 18 and 19-year-olds play. So I'm not saying that they think that the best that he can do is to face 18 or 19-year-olds. That the thing about the Florida Complex League, as well as the low A ball team, the Dunedin Blue Jays, they're based in Dunedin. It's where this huge training facility that they have, that's one of their prides and joys that they invested tons and tons of money into, and that's where it's located. So from what I understand, the reason he went down there is they think that him being there is giving him the best chance to get back to being successful, that he'll have access to as many resources as they can provide him. And I mean, I'm not even sure that anybody really knows what the issue is. And it might not be just one thing, it could be a combination of some different things. So, first, they need to figure out what the heck is wrong and then see what they can do to fix it. And my feeling is by sending, if they thought this was a quick fix, then he'd probably be at AAA. Send a few weeks there, get back to throwing strikes, get your confidence back, and then hopefully we'll see you in a month or so. That's not the route they went. Seems to me like this could be a fairly major overhaul, and it's unfortunate that it's come to this, but that might be what's needed to get him back to being successful. So, Alec, all the best. I mean, as from what I know of him as a human, from what I've definitely seen of him as a pitcher, I wish this young man nothing but success. I want him to come back. I want him to be great like he was last year or even better. And I think he still has that in him. So fingers crossed, we'll see when that happens and all of that. So in the meantime, obviously, you needed someone to take his roster spot. So the pitcher that they called up, someone who has been doing fairly well at AAA, is Bowden Francis. So Bowden Francis, he's not a young prospect. He is 27 years old. He's gotten into 4 games at AAA. I think he spent some time on the AAA injured list. His earned run average is decent. It's 345. He's got some interesting numbers. So 2.3 walks per 9 innings, so that's good. 13.2 strikeouts per innings, that's very good. This man has some potential. So I'm kind of glad that he's going to be with the Toronto Blue Jays. And you know what? Let's see what he can give them. Can he be a part of the puzzle going forward? Maybe. I'm guessing that he gets the start in what would have been Manoah's next start, which is Saturday. And all the best to him. Hope he can really keep the Jays in the game, give them a chance to win. The other transaction, because Francis was not on the 40-man roster, he needed to get on the 40-man roster. In order to clear a space, they have designated for assignment Zach Thompson. So Zach Thompson, the Blue Jays acquired in a trade in the offseason, and he's been pitching at AAA, and unfortunately, his results really haven't been great. 11 games, his ERA is almost 7 at 6.89. So the Blue Jays, they're serious about doing as much as they can, hopefully to try to win and to win it all even, and they need the best options that they can access. So sorry to say it, but good for them. I think these are moves that needed to be made, and hopefully it will help them. And so that's the transactions for a week. Excuse me just a moment. All right, so on to the heart of tonight's order. The All-Star, all that balloting for the MLB All Star game has opened. And the All Star game, as we know, the Midsummer Classic, as they call it, it is in mid-July, so it's coming up in a few weeks. Obviously, before that, they don't announce the teams the day before. They're announced with a little bit of time, so everybody can prepare maybe about a week beforehand or thereabouts. So if you're interested in the All Star game, and if you support the Toronto Blue Jays, you think there are guys that are worthy of going, then definitely do get those votes in there. So, and as we know, with Major League Baseball, every team needs to be represented. I actually kind of like that. I mean, part of the downside is there might be years when certain teams only have one representative, and he might be the best player on the team. Is he necessarily an all-star? I mean, you can argue a couple of ways, but the All-Star game, the way I look at it is it's for the fans. It's a showcase. And if you're a fan of Major League Baseball, chances are you have a team, and it's great that anybody who watches gets to see their team represented. So I really do like that. I like the inclusiveness. So who is likely to be representing our Toronto Blue Jays? Well, for me, there are two definites. The definites are Bo Bichette and Kevin Gausman. And if those two guys are not both at the game, something has gone very wrong. I can't imagine a scenario in which they are not both chosen. So let's look at some numbers. So Bichette, how does he stack up with other American League shortstops? If you're looking at Fangraphs WAR, he's second among AL shortstops with 2.9. Wander Franco has a little bit more. He's at 3.2. Bichette is first in all of Major League Baseball in hits. This is the third year in a row that he's been leading, and he finished both of the last two seasons with the most hits in all of MLB. So right now he's at 89. I mean, he has hit, and hit some more all season. He is really the only Toronto Blue Jays hitter who has been so consistent all year long. I mean, all of the others, they either started slow and are doing better now, or they started great and they've cooled off. And so, yeah, I mean, Bichette has really been a major reason for the success that the Blue Jays have had. His weighted runs created plus among AL shortstops is 151. That's very good. That's actually third among American League shortstops. It's interesting though, both of the others who are a bit higher than him, they've sort of there's Corey Seager, and then there's Ezekiel. Sorry, I can't read my own handwriting there. My apologies. There's two of them on the Texas Rangers, and it looks like they've kind of shared the playing time. I think was Corey Seager on the IL for a part of time there. Anyway, yeah, he's at 169. And then second place is at 152. So for the amount of playing time that Bichette has had, he's never gone cold with the bat. And if you've noticed, his defense is actually considerably improved this year. So really, he he gets my votes every day, all day. I mean, it's been between him and Franco, who will end up being the starting shortstop. They're both terrific players. Either of them would be very deserving as the starter, but I think if one is the starter, the other one's got to be coming in relief about halfway through the game. So we'll see how that goes. Excuse me a moment. Okay, the other lock has got to be starting pitcher Kevin Gausman. What can you say about Kevin Gausman? He was a free agent signing 2 off seasons ago. This is his second year of a 5-year contract. I mean, he's getting paid. He's earning every dollar of that pay. So it's a win-win for both sides. He's got a good paycheck and he's really earning it. So his earned run average, 2.63. That's 8th best in the American League. Some of his other stats: innings pitched, he's been going out there taking the ball and going fairly deep into games. 82 innings pitched, tied for first with teammate Chris Bassett, by the way. So great that these guys are more than carrying their share of the load there as far as taking the ball and not having to give it up. Kevin Gausman is first in the American League in strikeouts with 113. Second place currently, Shohei Ohtani, all the way down at 96. So he is really, he's running away with it as far as strikeouts go. Fangraphs WAR 3.0, that's first among AL pitchers. So again, Kevin Gausman, I don't know if he'll start the All Star game. He might. I'm not necessarily thinking that he starts it, but so those stats overall are so good. He can't not be a part of that team. So again, all the best to both of these players. You're doing great for the Jays, and you deserve these individual accolades. So that's who will definitely be going. So what about anybody else? Do the Blue Jays have any other players that might be considered? Maybe they're kind of on the bubble. I mean, there's a few, and there's a couple more that I'm not mentioning here that possibly I could have, but we only have so much time, let's face it. So there's a couple of them that I thought I'd mention. One of them, believe it or not, is Matt Chapman. So as we know, Chapman got off to a hot start. He was probably the hottest position player in all of baseball for the month of April, very deserving to win AL Player of the Month honors for the month of April. Something happened in May. I don't honestly know what. I mean, he went from red hot to ice cold all of a sudden. When you look at the overall numbers, they're still actually quite good. So I don't know the people who vote for All-Star games, if they look at things like Fangraphs WAR, maybe they do. His F-WAR, largely boosted by his hot April, is still first among American League third basemen. It's at 2.3. His weighted runs created plus of 135 is tied for fifth. Chapman overall, when you look at his numbers, hopefully the offense will get back to something closer to what it was in April than the ice cold May, but his overall numbers are still quite solid. So might he make the team, maybe as a reserve? I don't know. It's certainly possible. It'll be interesting to see. And anybody else? So there's one more player I want to talk about before wrapping up this part of the show, and that's Kevin Kiermaier. Kevin Kiermaier, I believe, has captured the hearts of many Toronto Blue Jays fans. I think a lot of us didn't necessarily like him from his time with the Tampa Bay Rays. There was the card incident with Alejandro Kirk a couple of years ago, and just some different things. But he signed here as a free agent, and he told everybody on Twitter that no one was going to care as much as him, and he couldn't wait to play for us and give it everything he's got, and he's done exactly that. So Kevin Kiermaier has never been to an All-Star game, and I don't know if he'll make this one, but you know what? I would love to see him make one. His 1.7 Fangraphs WAR, it's tied for 11th among American League outfielders. So that's why I'm saying there might not necessarily be enough room for him if you've got 3 starters and 3 reserves, and he's down at 11th. There's always so much competition. He might not necessarily make it. He's having, it seems, a career year with the bat. His weighted runs created plus is 132. That's a career best for Kiermaier. Hitting has never been his calling card. Now it's 17th among Major League among American League outfielders, excuse me. We all know that that's not what Kevin Kiermaier does best. What he does best is his defense. His defensive runs saved is plus 10. That's after just over a third of the season. That's tied for first. Interestingly enough, with teammate Dalton Varsho. So that little more good news for the team. His outs above average plus 7 is 99th percentile. How many more games would the Blue Jays have lost without his defense? How many times has he made seemingly impossible plays that saved the day for us? So you know what? If you're a Blue Jays fan, if you support this team, if you like what Kevin Kiermaier has done for the Toronto Blue Jays this season, then I'm asking you to consider cast your vote for Kevin Kiermaier. That based on the numbers, he could be deserving. Some other guys might have a little bit better numbers, but if we all band together and vote for him, I think that he can make it. I think that would be a great way for us to show our support of him for everything that he's doing for our team. So something to think about there. Well, I've been rambling on for a while, and that means that that's almost all that I've got for you today, which brings me to 3 Blue Jay colored glasses. And I remembered the glasses this week. Didn't need my husband to put them there for me. All right, so It's been a roller coaster ride so far this season. I'm sure we all remember not all that long ago when the Blue Jays went over a stretch of 11 games. They only won 2 and they lost 9. And a lot of people were really disillusioned by that. That there were a number of people that really thought that that would be it, that they weren't even a playoff team this season. I never agreed with that. I know that it's a long season, and as difficult as it can be when your team is struggling and not winning, that this team was too talented to not turn themselves around. And they have, because you know what? Since that 11-game stretch, they've won 9 games and lost 3. As of the start of today, they had gained considerable ground. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. They've gained considerable ground on the 3 wild card spots. The division lead, it's still a little bit up there, so maybe they'll get there, maybe they won't. But the good news is there's 3 other ways for them to get into the playoffs. Wildcard 1, 2, or 3. So as of the start of today, they were only a game and a half behind both the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees, who are tied with the exact same record for the 2nd and 3rd wildcard spots. In a matter of days, the Blue Jays could catch and or pass one or even both of those teams. And you know what? The Baltimore Orioles, who were in the 1st wildcard spot, the Jays are only 3 games back of them. That is within striking distance. They can still do this. And they've got 3 games against those Orioles next week in Baltimore. They're not going to be easy, but I say the Blue Jays give them some payback next week. I've got a somewhat bold prediction for all of you Blue Jay fans. So as I mentioned, I won't be on next week because we'll be in Baltimore. I'm resuming in a couple of weeks. By the next time I do Sunny Side of the Dome, our Blue Jays are going to be occupying a playoff spot, and they won't fall out of it again this season. It's onward and upward for this team. The best is yet to come, and I can't wait. And on that note, now I'm finally done. Thanks so much for tuning in. Let's go Blue Jays. Let's go for that series win against the defending champion Houston Astros tonight. See you in a couple of weeks.